Good morning, everybody. I'm Alison Crocket. I'm the unit head for whole systems in the Scottish Government's Drug Policy Division. Thank you all for coming. It's a very important issue, this, and thank you for SEF to put this together for us, because it's something I think that we all have a real investment in reflecting on. I'm not an expert in multiple complex needs, so I'm not going to talk much about it, but I just want to have a few very preliminary introductory thoughts to set us off for today. Multiple complex needs is not a new thing, is it? It's something which is a relatively new term, but it's certainly not an issue that we have recently started reflecting on. Indeed, it's something that those of us who've been in this kind of work for a while, have been contemplating for a very long time. And we all struggle a bit to to articulate who it is that we are attempting to serve, those of us in public service and service providers, who it is this group is that we're trying to serve. And part of it is quite well illustrated, I think, by, I spent 4 years in UNAIDS as a senior policy officer, and my job title changed 3 times in that time. It moved from most at-risk populations, rather disingenuously called MARPs, to people who most vulnerable populations, and that was considered to be a little bit pejorative. And then it got even worse, and we called people hard to reach, until a very outspoken sex work activist said to me one day, well, if you want to buy sex or sell drugs, we're not hard to reach, which did give me pause for thought, and I ended up being called the senior policy officer for key populations. So it's now, we're talking to people, we're talking about this issue of multiple complex needs. So it's a difficult thing to nail down. And we will continue, no doubt, to think about it in different ways. I would say, though, that in doing so, we all need to find shorthand sometimes to refer to the client groups and the service user groups that we have. But I think we do also need to remember to try not to pathologise people into a grouping in real life whenever we're thinking about it. And I think we also need to remind ourselves sometimes of the real resilience of people who use drugs and their families who are absolutely not vulnerable or victims in many respects, and in fact who have been putting one foot in front of the other and surviving for more than most of us could manage. And their stamina is to be extremely admired, and particularly when they're trying to access services. Just the term, I find, complex needs is a one that perplexes me a little bit, because my true belief is that people's needs are actually very simple. And they're all the same. All of us in this room and everyone else all share the same needs. We need to eat, we need shelter, we need some meaning in our life, and we need some connection with other people. And that's it. And, the rest is all a bit sort of relative, really, isn't it? What's complex is the systems within which people have to operate in order to access sometimes the support that they need. And that's all of our responsibility. And my belief is that we shouldn't be trying to help people navigate complex systems. We should be making systems more simple so that people can access them. And I'm sure that everybody in here would agree with me. And it's something I think we've all felt for a while and still struggle to actually do. So my hope is that today, with the help of these very experienced and people with real expertise, can help us to sort of navigate through and think through, how can we actually make complex systems easier? So I want to kick off with our first speaker, who's Jason Wallace, who most of you I'm quite sure will know already. He's the Living Experience Engagement Senior Officer for SDF. And he's going to start. And what I'll ask is that he does his presentation. If there's time at the end, ask questions, and we'll hopefully get a bit of discussion going as we go through. Jason.
Thanks, Alison. Nice to see everybody. So, I'll just quickly talk a wee bit about the engagement groups, and then I've got a couple of case studies, and we'll just talk through that, what it might look like when we get it right for people some of the time. So, for any individuals coming to engagement groups, we have several at the moment across the country. We're looking to always build on them. So if you're in an area that currently doesn't have a living experience engagement group, grab me at some point in the day and we can look at setting up a meeting and come out and chat with you and talk through what that would look like. So for everybody that attends the groups, we have like a wee core training package, and you can see for there, one of the first things we do with people is naloxone training. We do that because we want to make sure we can keep them alive long enough to come back next week, right? So that's dead important to get that straight away. We'll then start to look at the MAT standards, and unfortunately we still have loads of people coming to the groups on a weekly basis who have no clue what MAT standards are. So we talk them through it, we give them a wee takeaway with them, this is what it means to you and how it might work in your life, and then what you'll see for the case studies will support people continuously with that. We'll then look at independent advocacy with people, because we know that a lot of the services provide advocacy for the clients, but they're not actually funded to do that, and sometimes it's better to have independent advocacy that isn't involved in your service, because sometimes you end up with conflicts if it is. We'll usually look at BBV training locally for them, get somebody along just to talk about what's available and the new treatments and stuff. You'd be amazed at the amount of people that we see at the groups who still talk about like interferon treatment and stuff like this. People just, if they're not getting told about this on a regular basis, all they recall is stories from way back in the past. And we always have a chat with people just about poly drug use in general, mostly about street Valium. We're fortunate that as part of our team we've got a wee resource where we're able to support people to post samples away to the Wedding project in Wales, and then the following week, usually or the week after, we're able to give them an update on what was actually in the samples. So to date, the samples we've posted away, the majority of them have returned with atizalam in them, and we've had a couple that have had bramazalam. None of them have returned with diazepam, but we kind of know that. Anyway, that's what's happening in the streets. So that's just a wee flavour of the training we get, and we'll also be looking to invite people in to deliver some training locally based on the group get to decide what they want to do. It's not our group, we're there working for them in a sense, just to help facilitate it. But this is some stuff that gets spoken about on a regular basis at the group, and it's dead important for the individuals that they actually get support when it's asked for and know when it's convenient to give. So they'll talk about reaching out, and you'll see this for the case study, reaching out, asking for support, but getting told, oh no, you need to wait 2 weeks for a referral, 3 weeks for a referral. Why? If they're there on the day asking for it, let's see what we can do. And that's what myself and Jim Thompson, who facilitate the Glasgow group, and the guys that facilitate the other groups, we're not a support group, but if people come along and the issue they have is something simple like a bus pass, we'll try and support them. And we've done that. I'll just give you a wee example. We had a group with 13 people in it, and they were saying, I need to go to 4 different appointments a week and my worker won't give me a bus pass and stuff. We said, right, wait till the end of the group, we'll sit down and have a chat. Out of the 13, 7 of them were entitled to a bus pass because of the benefits they were on. And we were fortunate that we were doing the Simon Hub and we were able to get staff just to give a load of bus pass forms, go to them full in, got people a bus pass, and that just eased a bit of the pressure. Or sometimes it's just making sure people are actually getting the right benefit that they're entitled to. So this is just a wee case study. One of the lassies that comes to the group. So she came to the group initially with her partner, and none of them were in a good condition, right? They actually came through the doors of the group in the middle of a domestic argument, shouting and bawling to each other. And for people that don't know, the groups are aimed at people that are actively using drugs, right? So if you are abstinent or been stable for several years, this group isn't the place for you. If you are actively using here and now, or maybe starting a journey on a prescription, whatever, this is for you. So that was the condition that they arrived in, and she'd been using for more than 20 years. Long history, problem drug use, but engaging with homelessness, mental health, whole range of different services, criminal justice. And in the last slide, that's what I was talking about, with engaging with 4 or 5 different services. And these services were all pulling in different directions. Everybody's appointment was important to that service. So criminal justice, mental health, addictions, all their appointments were important to them, but all of this was important to this lassie. So through coming to the group, she started to engage really well with us in the group. We were fortunate we were able to get some of the Simon staff to support her to start to engage better and get follow-ups done with these services. She'd been waiting a long time to get a mental health assessment, and over that time she made the decision that she wanted to move from methadone onto aspirin or onto Buvidal, and at the same time with support she was able to get a maintenance script on diazepam started. And it took a wee bit of time, but through that she ended up moving out of the city centre, been housed in a TFF, and you can see there at the bottom. So she disappeared for about 2 or 3 weeks, and we were a wee bit worried, and we tried to follow her up and find out if she was alright. And then she just appeared back at the group one day and she said, actually I've kind of sorted myself out, I've got a house now, I'm not using any illicit substances, I'm stable on my diazepam and my Buvidal. I don't think this group's for me anymore, I don't think I need it. That was one of the very first successes, if you like, we seen through the group. But that wasn't the important thing. The important thing was see everybody else coming to it. They were looking to her and going, wow, if she can do that, maybe we can. And that started a bit of a chain reaction. You'll see in the next case study. Through the progress she made, other people in the group started to think about, maybe I'll come off my methadone and go into that aspirin or and then Buvidal. I'm going to try and get a house out of the city centre or supported accommodation or whatever. So it's just the power of example. We can go along and tell people all day long, we think this is best for you, we think that's best for you. But see if we can provide a space for them where they can actually see people, their own peers. It's far more powerful. So, this guy, he came to the group, I think he was maybe 2 weeks out of prison, right? So, we'll not say how long he was there for, but he was in long enough that he shouldn't have been released homeless, but that's what happened. So he was released homeless, right back into the city centre, picked up his old life where he left off, arrived at the group, 30 plus year of using drugs, had never had any period in his life where he'd been stable or anything like that, just problem drug use, city centre, committing crime, prison, back out, do it all again. So he started attending the groups, and through that, hearing other people chatting, we were able to support him to link in with the prescribing services, because we'll not go into it, but something happened when he was in prison, came out, ended up off his script, so he came back into the community, no script, nothing, and he was just back to cracking heroin and street Valium. So we convinced him it'd be a good idea to link in with him. And through the lassie that we showed a wee minute ago, he made the decision as well that was the journey he wanted to take. And there was other people in the group that made that decision. So again, it was that peers following peers, seeing people in front of him. And he was able to move out of the hotel accommodation into support accommodation. Recently, he was able to get his first TFF. Hopefully that will lead to his own tenancy. But through that process of moving through MAP prescribing, he decided himself that he wanted to become abstinent, and that's what he done. And there's been several people in the group who've done that, and I need to say all the ones that have done it to date have done it via Buvidal. And when you ask them, why did you do it like that, they said, because it gave me the choice. I didn't need to have arguments with workers about, can you take me down, can you take me down, can you take me down. I just went, got my monthly jag, made the decision I wanted to be absent, and just didn't go back for it, and tapped into other support. So in that sense, it seems to be working well for people. He was able to cease all illicit drug use. While he was engaging with us, we were able to link him in with some local adult learning and stuff. And he'd never done anything like that. And he started to do that, and he really liked it. And maybe just caught the bug for it. So through that, he decided he would then go and do a bit of volunteering and stuff like that. And this guy's life is night and day. No, so it is. So 10 months ago was the first time he came and seen us, and at the engagement group. And last month he was one of, people might have heard me mention it at our last conference there. So last month he was one of the guys that's just started SVQ and health and social care. So it's dead important to say that this happened over 10 months, right? Dead short period of time. And we'll not take any credit for that, because all we done was provided him an environment that he could come along and tell us what was happening for him, what he needed support with, what worked well, what didn't work. Know what I mean? He made the decision himself. We just supported him along the way. So when people are coming, this is what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give people a wee bit of space and time that all our voices get heard. This really hurts me, right, when I say this. We have guys and lassies coming to our groups who walk in, and at the end of the first group say, this is the first time in 20 or 25 years MD's ever asked to hear my voice. Imagine how that must feel. Being in services for 20 years and nobody ever asked you what you had to, what your thoughts were about it. Just constantly having stuff done to you instead of done with you. So we're just trying to provide a space for individuals where they have their own time. They tell us what's important to them. We make sure it isn't a group where it's just moaning. It's not a group just to come and say, they're rubbish, they're rubbish, they're rubbish. When people come up with barriers, we always say to them, so what's the solution to that? Tell us how you think that might work, and then we'll feed that back to the people who can make changes. And that's an amazing two-way street. because that's how people then start to engage with you, because for the first time they start to feel, actually I've got a say in this. We can all sit and chat about, oh, you have these rights and the equality principles say you're entitled to this, this and this. That means nothing to them if they don't know nothing about them. And if there's nobody there to uphold their rights, then what's the point in them? So we look at the solutions for people, discuss what the facilitators might be for them to engage with the services. We'll note any concerns, but most importantly at the end of the groups, we say to them, so what do you want us to feed back? Because we've built these groups based on, it's not an SDF group, it's not a turning point, Simon community, we are with you. This group belongs to them. For the first day they come to the group, they're part of ownership of that group. We're just there to facilitate it. And through time we'll get to a place, we've had some of the guys already co-facilitating the groups. Through time we'll get to a place where we can just take a step back into the background and they'll run the groups themselves. And this is hard for people to get into their mind, right? That some of these guys will literally go down a lane, round the corner for the group, right? Quickly inject into their groin, heroin, cocaine, walk round the corner, come into the group. That's cool. We look after them, right? The fact they've done that doesn't mean they don't know what support and help they need. We keep a wee eye on them, know what I mean, at the group. We always give them a wee friendly warning that if you're sleeping for a wee bit too long, you're going to get this naloxone, and nobody likes that as a wee friendly warning, so they're usually like, oh no, I'm alright. But they come in and engage with us, know what I mean, and that can be hard because normally these guys and lasses, it'd be, oh, you can't come in here, you're too under the influence. We need to get away from it. Know what I mean? It's easier to manage people that are stable and abstinent and all that. But, and I always share this from my own perspective, there's no point asking me what the challenges to engaging with services are. I've not used services for a long time. I've a lot of lived experience, but I'm by no means a peer. We need to ask people who are still there now, who aren't coming to the services. And these groups are a great way of doing that. And the benefit to use a service, you don't need to pay a penny, we are funded to do it all. You just need to come in partnership, work with, and we'll look at how we make it better for you, them, and everybody else. So that's just a wee bit about when we get it right sometimes. Know what I mean? It isn't all bad, there's lots of good work happening, but we just need to start working better in partnership so that we don't have individuals like we've seen getting pulled in 4 different directions because you've got homelessness, criminal justice, addictions, mental health. Everything's priority to that individual service, but we need to remember the individual in the middle who's getting pulled all over the place with this stuff. So always finish with a wee slide, just a wee note to yourself. You can't control how other people receive your energy. Anything that you dare say gets filtered through the lens of whatever personal shit that they're going through at that moment. It's not about you. Just keep doing what you're doing with as much integrity and love as possible, and just show people a wee bit of kindness. But I think that's about me. Thanks.